Hey guys, welcome back to yet another Games I Beat video, this time around for the year of 2016. And this is something that I do every year, and of course 2016 was a great year. And basically I go over a list of all the games that I beat during the calendar year, in this particular case 2016. So I'm pretty happy because I made a pretty good improvement over 2015. I believe in 2015 I beat around 26 games. And I was able to beat, if I'm not mistaken, 34 games during 2016. So an increase in the amount of games that I beat, which is always good. Granted, there are some games that are a little bit on the short side, but nevertheless, happy to have completed them. So I kind of follow the NeoGAF rule, the 52 games a year rules that they have, if you guys are familiar with that. But obviously, I was not able to hit that 52 game mark, but that's fine. So without further ado, let's just start with the first game I beat in 2016, which was a 3DS title, and that game was Gravity Falls for the 3DS, obviously. A short platformer with some puzzles in it, a lot of backtracking, and I was originally very, excited because this game is based on the UbiArt engine that runs the Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends games. So the game does look beautiful, but as far as gameplay, the game is very simplistic and overly easy. So a pretty short experience, but yeah, that was the first game I beat in 2016. At number 2, it's an oddball. A lot of people would have problems, I guess, rating this type of games, but FIFA 15 on the PlayStation 4. How are you supposed to beat a sports game? Well, my criteria is that you have to at least finish a full season without simulating any games. So I did that. In fact, I probably played 2 seasons in FIFA 15 with AS Roma, and that takes a while, actually more than a lot of the shorter games that are out there. So a lot of hours invested in FIFA 15, and like I said, I completed 2 seasons, and during those 2 seasons, I think I won one Serie A championship, maybe a Champions League. But yeah, that was FIFA 15 towards the beginning of the year. A fantastic game that I was pretty much addicted for a while. At number 3, we have Guilty Gear Xrd Sign for the PlayStation 4, a beautiful looking game. Fighting game that I was able to beat the main arcade mode with almost every single character. I still have to go back and do it with all of them. And then on top of that, the game has a story mode, which is also pretty interesting. But this game was a joy to play and a joy to watch. The game is very well animated and very good looking title for the PlayStation 4. So Guilty Gear Xrd Sign, and I believe there's a new one already out with more fighters and whatnot. But that's the third game on my list. At number 4, we have Wolfenstein: The Old Blood for the PlayStation 4, a game that came out in 2015, but and I even imported this game from Europe to get the physical edition, which later came into North America. Yet another extremely solid entry in the modern Wolfenstein games. I was very pleased with this game. A little bit shorter than the New Order, but nevertheless a fantastic first-person shooter game and a fantastic single-player campaign, obviously. So that's number 4. At number 5, we have Life is Strange for the PlayStation 4. One of my favorite games of 2015. This is a visual adventure type of game that had a very good story. It's similar to the Telltale games, and I was really attached to the characters and the story in this game. So very happy to have completed that game. At number 6, one of my favorite games of 2015, which is Bloodborne on the PlayStation 4. Again, a fantastic game, and one of the reasons why I delayed my top games of 2015 for so long, because I really wanted to beat this game before I passed the final judgment. And of course, this game easily made my top 10 list, and very happy to have finished this with a couple of friends here on YouTube. You can play this game online, and of course, this is another fantastic entry in the Souls types of games. So another fantastic exclusive for the PlayStation 4. At number 7, I have Pro Evolution Soccer 2015 for the PS4. a similar scenario to FIFA 15. My criteria is if you beat, or if you're able to complete at least one season without simulating any games, I consider that game quote unquote complete. So another great game, Pro Evolution Soccer, a little bit more realistic than FIFA in my opinion. At number 8, we have Far Cry 4 on the PS4, which I do have an impressions video on this. Another great entry in the Far Cry series, different setting, but the gameplay overall stays the same, very similar to Far Cry 3. And just an overall fun game, open world first-person shooter with light RPG elements, so another very enjoyable entry in the series. At number 9, we have Killer Instinct on the Xbox One, a very nice surprise. I was able to beat this game with a bunch of the characters in the game, and like I said, I was very pleased. This is one of the best modern fighting games, which it's unfortunate because I believe because the game is out on the Xbox One, it kind of it went under the radar for a lot of people, but in my opinion, this is one of the best modern fighting games. The making combos is very fun, very easy, so I highly recommend this game if you guys are into fighting games. At number 10, we have Battlefield Hardline for the PlayStation 4. An overall improvement on the first-person single-player campaign as opposed to other Battlefield games, but the multiplayer, in my opinion, fell very, very short. It wasn't as fun as other Battlefield games, but nevertheless, I was able to complete the single-player campaign and also put a lot of hours into the online multiplayer, which I thought it wasn't as good as other games. At number 11, we have Trine 3, The Artifacts of Power for the PlayStation 4. And this game was took a little bit of a departure from the traditional Trine games, from the first two games. It's on a 3D world, basically, which a lot of people complained. Overall, the game is pretty short. It felt a little bit incomplete, in my opinion, but nevertheless, you get your typical Trine fix with excellent looking environments and just the charming 3 characters that you always control. So I was pleased with the game. I just wish it was a little bit more longer. At number 12, we have a bite-sized game in 3D Outrun for the Nintendo 3DS. This is one of the Sega 3D remakes or 3D ports that they have done on the Nintendo 3DS. Extremely short game, obviously, but as I was able to do every route in this. Fantastic looking game. This is where the 3D effect of the 3DS comes to its full potential. So highly recommended that you guys try this game in the 3D mode on the Nintendo 3DS. At number 13, another bite-sized game on Crazy Taxi. This is the PlayStation 3 port. How exactly do you beat Crazy Taxi? Well, in my opinion, just be able to get a good letter ranking, and of course you have to complete the challenges that were an addition to, I believe, the GameCube version of the game, or maybe the Dreamcast version also had the challenges, but nevertheless, another short but sweet experience that reminded me of the arcade game of Crazy Taxi. Number 14, yet another bite-sized arcade game, this time around in Daytona, USA for the PS3. I believe I got all the trophies. You just have to complete all the circuits, including reverse mode, I think. But yeah, it was fun playing this, I guess, port of the original game, updated port this time on the PlayStation 3. And of course, Daytona USA, one of the classic racing games of all time by Sega. At number 15, we had Star Fox Zero on the Nintendo Wii U. A disappointing game for the most part. The game itself is good, but unfortunately the controls make this a very frustrating game. And it's a shame because I think that the game had pretty good potential on being an enjoyable game. The gameplay is similar to Star Fox 64. The presentation is similar to Star Fox 64, but unfortunately, the controls when the controls with the gamepad kind of make this game a very frustrating situation. But moving on, for number 16, we have Tales from the Borderlands on the PlayStation 4. This is another Telltale game that I went with nothing to lose and a lot to gain, I guess, because I'm not Even though I tried playing the Borderland games in the past, I was not a pretty big fan. But this game, Telltale managed to create very good characters and a very good story. So I was pleasantly surprised by Tales from the Borderlands. At number 17, we have Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition for the PlayStation 4, which I took advantage of PlayStation Plus. This was one of the free games, and I'm really glad I gave this game another shot, because I originally played the first one on the PC and didn't think too much of it, but this Championship Edition on the PS4 was fantastic. It's a Metroidvania type of game that I really enjoyed, and I'm very glad I gave it a chance, because it's a very polished game, a very well made game, and in my opinion one of the best Metroidvania types of games that you can play out there. So for number 18, we have Super Mega Baseball for the PlayStation 4, a game that I didn't even know it existed. And I always been a fan of the Power Pros baseball games on the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo DS, which are games that, you know, they look kind of like kiddie-ish, but they actually have a lot of depth and a lot of simulation aspects. And Super Mega Baseball does exactly that. So there was a sale on PSN. The game was on sale for like $2 or something like that. I gave it a shot. I played a full season, which took forever. But that's why I consider the game complete. I was able to play a full season, made it to the playoffs with my team, and I was able to win the championship. But it took forever because I opted for the full season, which is like 78 games or something like that. And I did not sim any of the games. So, yeah, Super Mega Baseball took a while, and it's a pretty underrated game in my opinion because it has a lot of depth. At number 19, another very pleasant surprise, Ori and the Blind Forest for the Xbox One, a game that came highly recommended from Leo and Scott here from YouTube. And yeah, this game did not disappoint. I was completely hooked to this game. It's a Metroidvania type of game with beautiful art direction, beautiful animations, and a very solid type of gameplay, very clever puzzles. I really enjoyed the emotional story and elements of the game. So Ori and the Blind Forest, one of my favorite games, definitely for the Xbox One. At number 20, we have Overwatch for the PlayStation 4. How exactly do you complete Overwatch? Well, you really can't, but because I put over 60 or close to 70 hours of gameplay, I consider this game quote-unquote complete. I played with every character, I explored everything, and this game is just one of the most addicting titles in recent memory. It's an online-only game, no story mode or anything like that, but I had a fantastic time with friends playing this online, and it was definitely one of the most addicting games that I played in 2016. At number 21, we have Yakuza 5 for the PlayStation 3, which won my Game of the Year for 2015. And yeah, this is a PlayStation 3 title, but it overshadowed every modern release from 2015 just because of the investment that I already have with the characters and the story of the Yakuza series. Another fantastic entry in the series where you can play with different characters, which gives a little bit of variety in terms of the gameplay. And you know, I thought this game was another extremely solid entry in the Yakuza series. At number 22, we have Caladrius Blaze for the PlayStation 4, which is a short game in itself, but this is a shmup or a shoot 'em up that Leo recommended to me, and yeah, I was pretty happy to try this out. It's been a while since I played one of these shooter games, and yeah, the game is short, but it gives you the opportunity to go back and play with different characters. And if you play with different characters, they have different abilities in their ships and whatnot. So yeah, Caladrius Blaze, a pretty good shooter game that I was happy to play it and complete it during this year. At number 23, we have King of Fighters 14 for the PlayStation 4. Oh, this game, the graphics were a big point of, I guess, a controversy because they went away with the 2D sprites. the beautiful 2D sprites that characterize the series. Yeah, the 3D models and characters are not the best looking, but the good news is that the gameplay is very solid. It's a very solid fighting game, but overall not among the best as far as the King of Fighters series. But happy to have completed the story mode with a bunch of the teams that are available in the game. At number 24, I have Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, which it does have a single player mode. You have to complete 10, they call it situations. And yeah, another very fun and addicting game that I was able to play the online after that, and I put a pretty good amount of hours in the online mode. Very realistic, very slow pace when compared to like Call of Duty or maybe Battlefield, but that's exactly what I liked about this. It's a different type of first-person shooter where you have to go into a more tactical and slow-paced approach in order to succeed. So very pleasantly surprised by Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. At number 25, we have The Walking Dead Michonne for the PlayStation 4. This was on sale. This is another Telltale game, and very, very short, and it does not follow the Walking Dead Telltale games, but it follows the actual story of the TV show. So a little bit of a different approach with this particular Walking Dead game by Telltale. At number 26, we went back to the PlayStation 3 with Spec Ops: The Line, a game that was highly recommended by a lot of people. And to be honest, I thought the game was very interesting. The story was definitely very, I guess, impactful. But overall, I thought the game was good, but nothing to write home about. At number 27, we have Fire Emblem Fates Birthright for the Nintendo 3DS. Yet another very solid entry. The Fire Emblem games are a staple as far as strategy RPGs, but when compared to Awakening, for example, I thought Birthright had a weaker characters and a weaker story, unfortunately. But nevertheless, another excellent Fire Emblem game and another great title for the Nintendo 3DS. Also for the 3DS, at number 28, we have Kirby Planet Robobot. Another very charming, very enjoyable Kirby experience, very similar to Triple Deluxe, in which I had a fantastic time. Very easy pick up and play type of game, and great looking, just a very fun title overall. Number 29, Street Fighter V for the PlayStation 4. Another controversial game which is lacking in arcade mode. Later on, they added the story mode, which it can be completed in like around 3 or 4 hours. And to be completely honest, I was not a big fan of the story mode. I thought it was lacking in depth. But yeah, overall, Street Fighter V, a pretty big disappointment for a lot of fighting fans out there. At number 30, we have The Division for the PlayStation 4, another title that I invested a ton of hours. I was able to beat the main missions and the story mode, but there's a lot more to the game, going online, playing with friends, co-op. It was another fantastic title. So The Division was the 30th game that I beat during the year. At number 31, I have River City Tokyo Rumble for the Nintendo 3DS. A very short game. It was one of the later releases on 2016. I'm really glad the game is short because the gameplay becomes very repetitive, very, very quick. And there are side missions that you can do in the game, but they're also very repetitive because all you have to do is you have to keep fighting other people and whatnot. But nevertheless, a pretty nice looking retro game. Similar to the River City Ransom game for the NES. It follows the Kunio characters and story. So yeah, it was a short game, and I'm really glad it was short because it was rather repetitive. At number 32, I have my rhythm game of the year. I usually try to play one rhythm type of game. In 2015, it was Final Fantasy Curtain Call. And in 2016, I decided to go with Hatsune Miku Project Mirai DX for the Nintendo 3DS. And I'm not a pretty big fan of the whole, J-pop or idol, whatever they called it. But yeah, it was an interesting game with very nice backgrounds. I think Sega actually put a lot of effort and time into this game. There were some pretty catchy tunes, but overall, the J-pop is not my thing. But it was enjoyable game. Like I said, there are a lot of songs that were pretty catchy, and I had fun going through all the songs in this game. And a the 33rd game that I beat during 2016 was The Last Guardian for the PlayStation 4. A fantastic game. Unfortunately, it was. It had some flaws in the camera and the controls, but everything else was, in my opinion, fantastic. Another great game by Fumito Ueda and Team Ico. So I'm very happy I was able to beat that game in 2016 and experience that game. And finally, the last game I beat during 2016 at number 34, I have Tearaway Unfolded for the PlayStation 4. This is essentially a reimagining of the original Tearaway game released on the PlayStation Vita, I believe in 2013. And I was already a pretty big fan of the original Tearaway game on the PlayStation Vita. And this PS4 version is a more complete, more polished, and longer experience, which I thought it was pretty welcome. And yeah, I did have a lot of fun playing Tearaway Unfolded on the PS4. So that's it, guys. 34 games that I completed during the year. I will be making a top 10 or whatever games of 2016 video, which will focus only on 2016 releases. And I'm gonna pick, obviously my top 10 games. But I do need more time to do that. I will probably be making that video in maybe another month or two. Similarly to what I did last year on 2015, which I released my top games of 2015 very late into the game because I really wanted to complete Bloodborne and Yakuza 5, and I'm really glad I did because Yakuza 5 was actually my game of the year on 2015. So I do need a little bit more time to complete a few 2016 releases, but stay tuned and look forward to the top games of 2016 video coming up in the near future. So once again, thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you all later.